Would you like to learn 2 more things that you don't ever want to do in the gym? Especially if you're prone to having neck issues, shoulder issues, elbow issues. Watch this. Okay, so you're ready to learn 2 more things that you should never do in a gym, especially if you're prone to neck, shoulder, elbow problems, issues, itises, right? So I'm going to get right to the movements. Then I'm going to show you some alternate ways to work those body parts. And then I'll explain a little bit about why, because I know some of you would just fast forward through it all and go to the movements because you don't care about the detail, and some of you love the detail. So we'll start with the movements to hopefully make everybody happy. So the 2 movements you never want to do in the gym, and I'll show you with a weight here. I'll just grab this is just an 8-pound weight. So one of the things that people love to do is isolate muscles in the gym. And they've been taught by a lot of well-meaning but misinformed people about how authentic human function is. So they isolate muscles. So I don't get going off on a tangent here, I'll just show you the motion. So biceps. Everybody loves to do bicep curls. And if you really want to zero in on those biceps, you're going to make sure that you're pronating and supinating. So for those of you who don't understand what that means, pronation is when your palm goes down toward the floor. Supination is when your palm goes up toward the ceiling. It happens in the forearm. And what people do when they really want to isolate the bicep is they bend the elbow and they supinate, and then when they straighten, they pronate. And the purpose of that is to shorten the bicep and lengthen the bicep as much as possible throughout the motion, right? And the bicep is the front of the arm muscle here. So what they'll do with the weight is they'll be here, that's more pronation, then they'll supinate as they come up. And when they do this, in order to isolate, you've got to make sure that you keep that elbow by your side. Don't let it swing out. Don't use any other body part, because we want to make sure that we really exhaust that bicep muscle and make sure that it's getting worked so that it can get that nice hypertrophy that we're looking for, that nice increased size, and make sure that, we really work that out and we've got those nice toned arms, right? Well, here's the problem with that. In real life, we don't use our muscles all by themselves. So when we go to work them out all by themselves, we injure things, we inflame things, we annoy things. So I'll get into a little more detail afterward. Just need to make sure, for those of you who want to fast forward, you got some of the basic of this, right? Another thing we don't ever want to do is for the tricep. And what is one of the most common things that people will do with their triceps? They'll put this up here. They'll keep those elbows right by their ears, and they'll let that weight drop down. Let me make sure you can see this. They'll let that weight drop down, right? Get those triceps as long as we can, and then shorten them as much as we can. So we're going to do this, and we're going to isolate those triceps. We're not going to let anything else work with the tricep, right? Or we'll do a kickback, right? So you'll get on the bench, and you'll straighten that elbow against gravity. Let it bend and straighten, right? So, okay, now that you know what you don't want to do, I'm going to show you what you would do, and then I'm going to explain why. So a great way to train the biceps is doing pull-ups. But don't do them this way, or pull down. So if you're sitting in a lat machine and you reach up, you can pull down, right? You're working both arms, but you're using other body parts. Your latissimus dorsi's involved. You've got other muscles going on. So you're not asking the biceps to hang out all by themselves, on the end of the plank and telling it it's got to jump in the ocean. You want teamwork. The body's designed to work together. If I go to pick up something heavy, pretend this is really heavy. I know it's only 8 pounds, but if I say it was 50, right? Well, here, I'll get a heavier weight. I'll show you what I mean. So say, and I think this is about 30 pounds. I don't remember exactly. Yeah, I think it's 30. So what we're going to do here is, if I'm going to pick something up that's relatively heavy, 30 pounds isn't all that heavy, but, bear with me here, right? So if I go to pick this up, what am I going to do? I'm not going to go, oh, I better keep my elbow by my side. I better make sure I pronate. I better make sure I supinate to pick. No, I'm not going to do any of that. What you're going to do is you're going to come, hopefully, if you know how to lift something heavy without injuring yourself, you're going to maybe put one foot forward. Usually you'll put your stronger leg forward. And you may not even know what that is, but subconsciously your brain knows. So you'll put a foot forward, you'll come down, you'll pick it up with both hands, typically, unless you have to do one hand, and you'll use your whole body. See how I'm kind of leaning in here? Now I'm explaining this very slowly so you understand. I'm gonna push through my feet and pull with my body, right? So it's my whole body is involved, right? So if you really want to work your body, you can keep your feet side by side if you want, right? Let your body be a little bit involved. Lean forward just a little bit. Straighten up. Lean forward just a little bit and straighten up. But don't try to isolate that muscle as much as you can, just so that, you know, if you're going to be in a bodybuilding competition and wear a tiny little bathing suit and have a whole bunch of people criticize you while you're standing on a stage, I don't know why anyone would want to do that. I know I wouldn't. I'm not putting down bodybuilders, but wow, does it take a lot of courage. That's different. That's another conversation. We're talking about the average person here who wants to be fit, who wants to be strong, who wants to not decline as you age, and wants a little bit of definition, a little bit of strength, a little bit of a healthy arm look, right? So do it in a way where you're not saying, okay, bicep, don't let anything else be used. It's not authentic movement, and it's not how the body's designed to function. So you're gonna risk tendonitis. You're gonna risk, a lot of people out there have lateral and medial epicondylitis, right? Tennis elbow, golfer's elbow. A lot of people out there have all kinds of shoulder issues because they're isolating the shoulders. I'll do some things you don't ever want to do for the shoulders because rotator cuff's only 4 little tiny muscles, well, smaller muscles, but they're not your power muscles. They're not meant for lifting. They're not meant for pushing. They're meant to keep the joint stable as you use the other muscles. So, but everybody's training the rotator cuff. So let's not isolate things, okay? So there's bicep. What would be a good alternative for your triceps? What would be more natural, more authentic? Well, let's talk about a push-up. So, you could do a regular push-up on the floor. Everybody kind of knows what a push-up is. You can do it on your knees, right? And I don't have the camera low enough here. But what you would do is just, go down and push up. And if your hands are a little bit narrow, you're going to use a lot more tricep. That would be an authentic human functional movement. If you're old enough, you remember those commercials, help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Those are people who have no upper body strength, right? And also they've got no core strength, nothing to push off, and no leg strength either, right? No max, max is gone. So the point is, in order to work the triceps, do authentic movement. You could do a little push-up off a chair. That would be functional, right? If you went to push yourself up, that would be, ideally, you don't need to push yourself up, but at least it's an authentic movement. So you could do this and use your body weight, drop down, push up, drop down, push up. And, I can use as little or as much help with my legs as I want. I've got very, very little help going on here, but some of my weight's on the floor, so it's not my whole body I'm trying to lift up. You can do, and maybe even try some push downs. But if you're like this, and you're trying to push up against gravity as you're straightening, when would you ever do that? Is there any reason? Please go ahead, write a comment and tell me when you would ever do that kind of a motion, right? You wouldn't. The same thing with, arm overhead and pushing up like this. Now, if you go to put something up on a shelf, that's a different story because you're pushing through your feet, you've got your hands here, and you're doing this. That's a whole different story than this. keeping those, elbows back and doing all that crazy stuff. So what those things do, when you do those movements and attempt to isolate a muscle, what you're doing is you're taking away any of the other assistance that motion is intended to have. Or you're doing it in a way where it's against gravity in a very inauthentic fashion. So repetitively, against resistance, using weights, you're going to inflame areas, you're going to annoy areas. It's not going to be happy. And I don't know about you, but pretty much anybody I've ever met doesn't really want tendonitis. So if you like this, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, let me know, write some comments, and I'll see you next time.